Hello, and welcome to Mrs. Brookover's Art Channel. Today, we will be drawing a penguin. This is obviously a cartoon version of a penguin rather than a scientific rendering, but this should be a lot of fun. To start, we just need our plain piece of paper, and I'm going to have my paper landscape direction today. And we're going to start right about in the center with a capital O. So I start at the top, around like a C, and up to close. Step 2, we are going to add our penguin's flippers. So about halfway down, I'm going to arch out and in, and then on the other side, arch out and in. As always, feel free to pause, rewind, or rewatch at any time. My next step, my penguin needs some feet, so I'm going to start at the bottom, arch out, and then I'm going to imagine that my penguin is standing on a flat surface, so I'm going to flatten out his feet at the bottom, or her feet, arch over, and in. For step 2, I'm going to draw my penguin's facial features. So I'm going to start with my eyes, right about in between the flippers. And because this is a cartoony penguin, cartoon style, I'm going to make him look a little bit goofy by making one eye larger and one eye smaller. And I will go ahead and draw 2 small pupils. The pupils are the black part in the middle of your eye, which goes through to the back of your eye. From there, I'm going to draw a triangle shape for my bird's beak. Triangles have 3 sides, 1, 2, 3, and 3 angles, and 3 vertices, 1, 2, 3. So this is my triangle for the beak. For step 3, I'm going to add a scarf starting a little bit above where my flipper connects to my penguin's body. Going to curve down and up. If you imagine the penguin was wearing the scarf would be resting on the penguin's shoulders. So the bottom part of the scarf, I'll start lined up with the top edge of the flipper, curve down, and up to the top edge of the other flipper. If you'd like, you can also add an edge here, kind of to make it look like it was tied, so I just made a curved line down and a zigzag line in, out, curved back in. And the last step of sketching is I'm going to give my penguin a hat. A lot of penguins live in areas that it's cold. They all actually live in the southern hemisphere. I'll show you a picture right now of a globe and talk about the hemisphere. The Earth is considered to have 2 hemispheres, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, divided by the equator. The equator is the imaginary line that goes around the Earth, essentially dividing the Earth in half. Penguins live in the southern hemisphere, which is below the equator line. Antarctica is at the very bottom of the Earth at the South Pole, which is also therefore in the southern hemisphere. And I'm imagining that my penguin in particular lives in Antarctica, where it is very cold. So to make my penguin's hat, to keep it warm, I just made a wavy line, kind of like an S-curve, and I'm going to do that twice. So these lines both curve up and down. And I'm imagining that's the brim of the hat. And last of all, I'm going to add a little oval on the top to make a pom-pom for my penguin's hat. And the last finishing touch before I color, right about at the edge of my penguin's feet, I'm going to start with my pencil and make a curved line going behind the beak, behind the scarf, and I'm going to imagine that that's my penguin's tummy. Now to color, I'm going to use markers today. You're welcome to use markers with me. You can use crayons, colored pencils. You could even paint if you would like, or you could use that resistance technique we used in class, where you could outline some of the parts of your bird with crayon and then paint to kind of keep it in the lines. Those are all your choices. So to begin coloring, you can start wherever you like. I'm going to start with my penguin's flippers. And I'm calling them flippers and not wings because penguins do not fly, even though they're birds. They do swim very well though. And so their flippers act like propellers, like on a boat in the water when they're swimming. And then they use their tail and feet to help them steer when they're swimming. So I'm going to color my bird's flippers black. And just try to color neatly in the lines. The other part of my bird that will be black is the main part of the body. So I'm not going to color the scarf black or the nose, but around, remember I always like to outline first before I color in. Helps me have nice clean lines when I'm coloring. And although there are more than a dozen kinds of penguins, more than a dozen species, the 4 main kinds of penguins that live in Antarctica are the Adelaide, Chinstrap, Emperor, and Gentoo. And a dozen means 12. So there are more than 12, more than a dozen. Emperor penguins are the largest penguins, and they can actually get up to about 4 feet tall, which I imagine is probably about as tall as a lot of you. And I'm just outlining where my edge of the hat is, outlining my scarf. I'm also outlining my eyes so that I don't accidentally color in the eyes. You know what this just kind of reminded me of as I was looking at the eyes are the Angry Birds eyes. I wonder why they don't have angry penguins and Angry Birds. Or maybe they do. If they do, let me know. All right, and I am all done with my penguin. Remember, when you go to put the cap on your marker, you should hear a nice snap. That will let you know that you closed your marker all the way. I am done with the black. Now I'm going to move on to my bird's feet, for which I'm choosing to use orange. I'm going to actually use all 3 of my warm colors somewhere in this penguin. Orange is one of my warm colors. I wonder who can name all 3 of their warm colors before the end of the video. And the other part of my penguin that I'll make orange is the beak. So I'll outline my beak and then shade in. And I am done with my orange for now, so I'll put on my cap until it snaps. And I can set that off to the side. Next, let's move on to the scarf. Now I'm choosing to make my penguin scarf red, but you do not have to. If you would rather make your scarf purple, or pink or blue or whatever your favorite color is, that's fine. I just want to make sure that my penguin is warm in Antarctica. Outlining and then coloring in. And then don't forget about this little edge too. And I'm also going to use my red marker to color the edge of my penguin's hat. So far I've used 2 of my warm colors. I've used red and orange, and I wonder who can tell me, maybe in the comments or on your work, what warm color have I not used yet? There's one more. Yellow! So I'm going to go ahead and use yellow for the next part of my bird's hat. Now again, if you do not want to make your bird's hat the same colors as mine, that's okay. You can use your favorite colors. I would love to see some pictures of your creativity. And last of all, I'm going to color the pom-pom of my penguin's hat. Now I'm choosing blue for that part, and the reason is red, yellow, and blue are my, what kind of colors again? Message me, post below, or write it on your work when you send me a picture. I would love to see how many of you remember what kind of colors are red, yellow, and blue. Thank you so much for drawing with me today. Remember to send photos to your art teacher, or you can turn it in a paper form to your classroom teacher. And we'll see you next time.